Hello, and welcome to Starting Points, where one thing leads to another. Wildflowers. Well, still looking at gardens and wildflowers, it just seems to be an endless stream of connections there, one thing leading to another. And here's a, a book that's important to me, because it's Western wildflowers. It's More Than Meets the Eye, The Life and Lore of Western Wildflowers, written and illustrated by J. Ward Harris, Ward-Harris. Lovely book. I've chosen two flowers to have a look at with you. The first one, of course, you won't be surprised by this. Dandelion that we were talking about in the last one. One thing led to another. And it's interesting, he sometimes will include various native bees as well. So it's a lovely art, and you can see the seeds drifting off in the breeze. It's, in a sense, alive. The dandelion. So he's talking about it, and he talks about it appearing. First time it was mentioned was back in the time of Henry VIII, and then he talked about it during the Second World War, how it was the roots were ground up and roasted and used as a coffee substitute when there was no coffee available. I mean, coffee had to be shipped, and the ships just weren't coming. And of course, in some places like France, it was cultivated as a vegetable or a salad. Because it's rich in vitamins A, C, and minerals. It was used to make wine, dandelion wine. That reminds me of a Ray Bradbury book. I won't go there, but it's a lovely book. And of course, birds, the seed heads, birds like that, and some gypsies obtained a certain magenta dye from the roots. Scotsmen found they could create a dye as well. That wasn't successful in North America as the dandelions over here only gave a yellow dye. Now, this was interesting. There was no way to receive shipments of rubber, the latex from the rubber tree that was used to make tires. So the bitter, milky juice that the whole plant exudes is said to cure warts. Even more interesting, the Russian species, and gives that Russian name, forms an industrially usable latex heavily relied on during World War II as a source of rubber. Well, who would have thought? Now, I was aware that when you break the stems, there'd be this milky oozing, but I didn't make that connection. The other flower that I want to share is the lupin. Here's the beautiful lupin, the amazing leaf cluster, the seed pod that's all twisted now as it's shot its little seeds out. So I'll share a few things from this too, where one thing has led to another. Dangerous seeds. Well, here we are. Children should not be allowed to eat the seeds. What else? Oldest seed. Here we are. Ancient seeds are a fascinating subject. In 1954, a mining engineer in the Yukon was digging through frozen silt when he came upon some ancient collared lemming burrows, in which he found a hoard of large seeds. Out of curiosity, he bottled some and kept them on his office desk for 12 years before someone realized their significance. The seeds were sent to the National Museum of Canada, where, after carbon-14 dating, some were placed on damp filter paper. 6 germinated within 48 hours. A year later, one plant produced mature flowers. It was an Arctic lupin, Arcticus, species still common on tundra and in subalpine forests. But these seeds were between 10,000 and 15,000 years old, 8,000 years older than the oldest known seed, that of the sacred lotus, which had germinated after lying dormant for 2,000 years in a far eastern peat bog. Well, one thing leads to another. Now, Pacific, West Coast. There's western wildflowers, which might include parts of Alberta, say, and British Columbia, maybe even parts of Saskatchewan. Plants of coastal British Columbia, so specialized to the coastal, including Washington, Oregon, and Alaska. Now it features a map right in the front. Here we are up in Anchorage, Alaska, and there's the Cook Inlet, and down the coast we get, there's Juneau, here's the Queen Charlotte Islands, here's Vancouver Island, and then all the way down Portland, Salem, Eugene. So along this coast, mountains often on the east of that line, dampness, fog comes in, comes up against the mountains, rainfall, and so this book was organized as a really fine guide, put together by Jim Poljar and Andy McKinnon. It's specialized to one area, and these two, along with 8 others, worked on this, wrote sections of this. Jim and Andy were the ones who compiled and edited it. I suspected, because it has a huge range of plants, it's not just wildflowers, huge range of plants, that certain of these people were real specialists in certain areas. I'll show you what I mean by that. The book is color-coded. There's a huge pink section here, and before that a orange section and a blue, and then there's various other shades at the back. And what are those shades? Well, there's an introduction section, the map again with more details, and talking about how these plants were used as medicine by First Nations people, and then it gets into this section, trees. So it's got a nice section on trees, then shrubs, and in each case it'll mention that boil the leaves to make open sores that would not heal, and how this was used. This is shrubs, and I've got a few things in here: salmonberry, thimbleberry, and I think a little further along, I might even have well, I don't know what I had marked there. Douglas maple. It doesn't tell me if it was named after David Douglas, but shrubs. Then it gets into wildflowers, and that's a big section. I've got a marker there for stinging nettle. Good to be able to recognize stinging nettle, especially if you're walking with, if you're walking, but if you had children with you, because they grow quite tall, and so other families. Then aquatics, oddballs, grasses. So you can see the range of plants that they include in this. Sedges, rushes, ferns, horsetails, club mosses, mosses and liverworts, peat mosses, true mosses. A lot of true mosses. Lichens is the last group. So that is a comprehensive field guide. So with very specialized information and references to uses and things like that. It's a heavy guide to carry. Not as heavy as this, but actually maybe almost as close. It's dense. This next book leaves the guides back and goes to the human aspect of things. It's called Gardening from the Heart. Why Gardeners Garden, by Carol Olwell. And I thought, what an interesting idea. Why? I mean, gardeners often talk about their gardening experience in garden, but not always broach the question of why. Why did you garden? What drew you to garden? Well, why did it become so much a part of your life? And to answer that, I thought she did a great job. She went and got together with 21 people in various areas, United States and Canada, and United States even being Alaska. There's a gardener from Alaska. The garden is paradise, maybe for an artist. The harvesting creates such a sense of happiness, and sometimes for somebody retiring, it then becomes something they get involved. Anyway, garden is providers, so market gardeners and fruit tree lover and so forth. Garden is teacher, again, another desert gardener, and then garden is healer. And I've got a mark in here because this man was an artist, and he set up a garden of cacti and desert-like plants. And his stories and reasons, and that person, the woman in Alaska, was fascinating. And here's some people here who are 17 miles south of San Francisco. Well, you think that might be all built up, but well, because of the terrain, there's gulches and there's hills, and they've got nursery plants, fruit trees that they propagate on this area. I don't know if you can see how well you can see that. And then in these plowed areas over here is where they and over here where they have a market garden and big time gardening. So I found that a different point of view, but it led me back to a guidebook, a golden guide on cacti. This is not one done by Zim. This is done by Frank Venning, and that golden press, and it was a library book sale. And well, the thing about it is, well, I knew cactus bloomed, saguaro trees and things, but I really I didn't know there was such variety, I guess. Such amazing plants. So I can see why some people were attracted to growing these prickly guys. Now, the last two that I'd like to share with you are concerned mainly with Northern Gardener by Harold Smith, but they give, for example, proximate dates of last spring frost in Canada and approximate dates of last spring frost in the United States. Now, from the time when this was published to now, that may be less accurate, because with climate warming, or changing, maybe some of those areas and pockets have changed as well. But this is definitely for information for preserving and canning, different places to grow things, herbs, insect pests, various plants in with specific recommendations about culturing and harvest, and so that's would be a useful guide. Is a useful guide, I would think. Canadian Gardeners, Natural Gardens, a complete guide to gardening with native trees, wildflowers, and grasses. So there's some pictures I couldn't help but want to show you. The beautiful thistle, the sunflower, things that might attract birds and feed birds at a certain time when they need it. There is a Canadian plant hardiness zone map in the back. And I was really struck on both those zone maps of areas that were, sixes. I just, well, yes, I mean, yes, there are a few. I mean, I would never have thought there'd be one in Newfoundland. But anyway, it's more Canadian specific, and not Pacific, but specific. See if I pronounce that okay. Well, thanks for joining me. Until next time, bye for now.